the rematch of the bloodiest fight in modern boxing history. The rematch between the Towering Inferno, the WBC 154-pound champion, a freak of nature, Sebastian Fundora, going up against the pride of Australia, the son of an absolute legend, Tszyu. Hopefully the future legend, Tszyu. What an unbelievable fight the first one was. We can't really take much from that first fight. But before we dive into it, let's talk about the champion first, Sebastian Fundora. Now, I've been watching Sebastian for a long time, and I've always been impressed by his power and especially by his offensive arsenal on the inside. When you see a guy who's nearly 6'7", currently he is the tallest champion in boxing. The man is taller than the heavyweight champion of the world, and he is the champion at 154, which is insane. Tszyu, he is facing an absolute freak of nature, Sebastian Fundora. When the man works on the inside, he is an absolute buzzsaw. The lead uppercut and the uppercut in the backhand is what makes Sebastian Fundora one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport right now, especially on the inside. And with him being nearly 6'7", the man can definitely fight on the outside. Now, I've been watching Sebastian for a long time, ever since he started his career with PBC. I saw his rise. Early on, he had some tough fights, like the Garcia fight, where a lot of people thought that he lost, but yet he kept getting better. And you gotta look at the man's lifestyle. 27 years old, lives with his head trainer, which is his dad, and his sister, undisputed champion of the world also, Gabriela Fundora, one of the hardest hitters in female boxing. The man lives, eats, breathes boxing. And he was on an absolute tear, knocking everyone out, until he got knocked out himself by Brian Mendoza, a fight which he was dominating. Got caught with, I'm not going to say a lucky shot, but got caught with a freak shot, a left hook that put him down. And he took a long time off. He was supposed to come back to the sport against a man with a 100% knockout ratio at the time, Serhiy Bohachuk. But 10 days before that fight, switch of opponents, because Keith Thurman pulled out of the fight versus Tszyu. He stepped up after his first knockout loss, his first defeat, and his longest layoff of his career. He stepped up and fought for the unified titles versus Tszyu last March, and he pulled off the victory. He pulled off the upset. He was nearly a 5-1 underdog. And that shows you how special Sebastian Fundora is. Now, in that first fight, that wasn't the best Sebastian Fundora, and that wasn't the best Tszyu. And let me tell you why. Sebastian Fundora, not only was he preparing for a different opponent, but like I said, longest layoff of his career, first knockout loss, first defeat. And on the other hand, Tszyu, he was preparing for Keith Thurman, a orthodox who's 5'8", with some pop and some box, and with some special exceptional boxing footwork. But the tables turned, and he met instead a 6'7" hard-hitting southpaw that handed him the first defeat of his career. Now, Sebastian Fundora, since their first encounter, he basically took no damage in the ring since their last fight in March of last year. And the man is special in so many ways. But let's talk about the challenger, Tszyu. Since that first fight they had, unlike Sebastian Fundora, unfortunately Tszyu took an enormous amount of punishment in the past year. First off, it was the Fundora fight, and after that, which was even more devastating, just when you thought that it couldn't get worse for Tszyu, he fought the boogeyman of the division, Bakram Murtazaliev, and Tszyu was dropped and knocked out bad in that fight. He was dropped nearly 5 times. And he got put to sleep at the end of that fight by Bakram Murtazaliev. The corner had to throw in the towel. Tszyu's brother actually threw in the towel. And I remember watching that fight a few months ago. I was like, Tszyu will never be the same. The amount of punishment he took, it was not only career altering, but possibly life altering even. But yet, the warrior inside of Tszyu dusted himself off, picked himself off, and made this comeback fight versus Joey Spencer. Now, we didn't really learn much from that Spencer fight because Spencer didn't offer any resistance. But in this fight, we're gonna find out whether Tszyu is actually still the same. Now, if you're a Tszyu fan, there are many things that you should be, that are positive in favor of Tszyu, which is mainly his sparring partner. In that first fight, Tszyu only had 16 rounds of sparring to prepare for Fundora, which of course everyone who fights Fundora brings in one sparring partner, Michael Fox, who is a watered down version of Sebastian, a bit shorter, no power, maybe even slicker on the feet, but definitely when you talk about power, not even close to Sebastian Fundora. In that first camp, he only had time to do 16 rounds, but in this camp he did nearly 90 rounds in preparation for the style of Sebastian Fundora. So I have no doubt in my mind that this time, mentally and in the training camp, Tszyu will be way more prepared than that first fight. But will his chin hold up from all the punishment he took in this past year? We're gonna find out. Now let's talk about their first fight. In the first 2 rounds, Tszyu was having his way. He was having his way not with the lead hand, not with the left hook, not with the jab. He was having his way with that backhand, and he was varying the way that he was throwing the backhand. Sometimes he was throwing it straight, which is crazy because with the size and height of Sebastian, you'd think that he would have more success with the overhand looping right, but instead he found more success with that straight backhand. And then he started to vary the shot selection, started going up top, looping it, and he was rocking Sebastian's head back. But then that cut happened. Now, why did that cut happen that changed the fight? Is because Tszyu was so eager to finish Sebastian. He was lunging in with power shots, and what actually cost Tszyu the fight versus Bakram, a lot of people said that Tszyu had the wrong game plan because he started exchanging early, but he didn't have a choice. In the first 10 seconds of that fight, Bakram hit him with a power shot, so he didn't even give him a chance to think and take his time to let the fight breathe and transpire. But especially the reasons why he got dropped, the main reason why he got dropped many times in that fight is because every time Tszyu throws a power shot, he sits there and admires his work. He doesn't move his head. When you talk about Tszyu's defense, it is either him slipping to the left or him pulling back. Now, what is Sebastian Fundora's defense? Mainly, it is his distance control. Now, can you hit Sebastian? Of course, he's not the hardest guy to hit, but he can definitely take a shot, and he's an absolute dog. Tszyu, after that background fight, made his comeback versus Joey Spencer, and now he finds himself rematching Sebastian Fundora. Now, what won actually Sebastian the first fight is the jab. He landed nearly 100 jabs on Tszyu, and Tszyu landed nearly 25 jabs on him. So, but you'd expect that because of the size difference. In this fight, Tszyu needs to take his time, but at the same time, he can't get eager on the inside because Sebastian Fundora is just as dangerous as him, if not even more dangerous, in the pocket. Tszyu needs to be all the way in or all the way out. He cannot stand in mid-range with Sebastian because Sebastian is going to absolutely pepper him with that lead jab and then follow it up with the uppercuts. And you hear Sebastian Fundora talk now. The man seems so much more confident than that first fight. And that is what happens when you become a champion. Not only did he become a champion, but he became a champion in the worst circumstances ever. coming off your first knockout loss, coming off the longest layoff, fighting an unbelievable champion like Tszyu on short notice, and he still defied all the odds and became not only a world champion but a unified world champion. And that is why when we saw Sebastian in his last fight versus Cordell Booker, and Cordell is not elite by any means, but Sebastian Fundora treated him like he wasn't elite. And even Tszyu's last opponent, Joey Spencer, he's not elite. Tszyu treated him like he wasn't elite. And that is what makes these fighters, both of them, so special. They rise to the occasion. I guarantee you that both men will come with their A game, and both of them, when you hear them talk, they don't have a single doubt in their mind that they're gonna finish the other. Cannot wait for this fight. When you talk about predictions, even though Tszyu got knocked out just 2 fights ago and even lost to Sebastian Fundora last time they fought, he is still the favorite in the bookies. And I understand why. It's because before that cut, the man was having his way. But let's not forget, Sebastian was warming up because he had what you call ring rust. And not only ring rust, he was trying to find himself, trying to find his confidence. The man kept seeing himself getting knocked out for an entire year. Couldn't do anything about it, but keep on training. He kept on training and he came back and defied all the odds and won. So I don't think that Tszyu was having his way before the cut just because he was that much better. I think that Sebastian Fundora was taking his time, was trying to find himself again. And my God, did he find himself right now. He is in his absolute peak when you talk about his confidence and when you talk about his physical abilities. Who's winning this fight? 50-50. It can go either way. My heart is telling me to pick Sebastian Fundora, but my mind is telling me Tszyu might just do it. And in boxing, we shouldn't go with our hearts. But I'm going to go on a limb here. Maybe because I'm biased. Maybe because I'm the same age as Sebastian Fundora. Maybe because I love rooting for people that are from my generation. People around my age, like Sebastian Fundora. I'm picking Sebastian Fundora in an all-out war.